next one I'm going to talk about is this film called The Mastermind, and I saw this actually yesterday. No, actually Monday night. It was the mystery movie at AMC for their Screen Unseen, and the film is directed by Kelly Reichardt. And in 1970, Mooney and two cohorts wander into a museum in broad daylight and steal four paintings. When holding onto the art proves more difficult than stealing them, Mooney is relegated to a life on the run. And this film stars Alana Haim. She has a small role in here as James Mooney's wife, played by Josh O'Connor. We've also got Hope Davis, John Magaro, Gabby Hoffman, and let me see who else is in this. It pops up with a significant role. Yeah, I think those are going to be our main people. But film is kind of a mixed bag for me. I definitely enjoyed it. So there's a bit of a heist in the beginning. Um, but it's a mixed bag overall. So what happens is our character here, he's a art thief. He steals paintings and sells them, the black market. So in this one, it's kind of set up as if he's been, living his life for a while, but he's also had some mishaps along the way. And it's kind of impacting his relationships, including with his wife and all that, and his extended family and stuff. But what's interesting in this film, he seems to be pretty good at this stuff, planning it out and getting all the details down. But for some reason, he just got bad luck. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's like the plan is cool, but you can't control what's going to happen, such as a police officer deciding to take a lunch break in the parking lot of the art museum you're about to rob. Things like that are going out of whack. So, it starts off, it's pretty interesting. But I will say this, man, maybe about a third through, it started to kind of bog down, and it gets to a point that's like, I feel like it gets a little bit repetitive to it in some of the stuff that it's doing. But for the most part, I actually enjoyed, the heist was kind of cool when that went down. But then I think once we get to the part where he's on the run, that's when this film kind of just it seems a little bit indecisive on where it wants to go and how it wants to handle this material. I think one of the main themes about this is that his actions have greatly impacted the people around him, and that's very apparent in the very beginning before he even gets to the heist. But then it's like the rest of the film spends a lot of time just reiterating that versus getting to another, it feels like it's just a bunch of setup that doesn't pay off. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like if this
yeah.
was a music, you got things that are building up and getting to a bigger movement or bigger swing, and I don't think it ever gets to that. And it's interesting because this film has a really deliberate pacing, like to the point. There's a sequence in here where he's basically stole the paintings, man, and he's stashing them in his barn, and it's kind of crazy because as it's happening, I was kind of into it, but you see him grab each painting, he's got to hide them in this barn, and he's climbing up the ladder, taking each one out of the box individually. It's actually showing every bit of this, and I was like, this is interesting. I feel like in another film, you would have just got the keyframes and they moved on, but and it's fine for this scene, but then there's a couple other scenes where there's kind of giving you that same pacing, and I'm like, wow, okay, it was cool the first time, but now you got me kind of watching a watch. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like when you look at a film like Thief, and you're showing him drilling into the safe, and he's messing with all this machinery, but it doesn't
Mhm.
have the cool music and the camera angles that Thief had. So you're just sitting there watching this
Yeah,
stuff go down.
Tangerine Dream makes a big difference in a film.
Yeah, you're just watching this stuff go down in like absolute quiet, and it's just like, okay, like wow, But another thing too that kind of got me is just the conclusion, man. It just ends kind of abruptly. You know what I'm saying? So I did have this thing a lower rating when I was in my letterbox, but as I was writing my reviews, something stood out to me, man, and I think that was an interesting point that made me give it a half star more. And I was like, by the end of this, we're kind of becoming him in a way where we're thinking there's still hope and there's still a way out of this rather than just, yo, dude, like just accept your fate, take your wounds and go on with your life. You know what I'm saying? But we're so caught up, we actually start to think like him, and maybe that was what this film was trying to do, put us into this character's mind state. And I think it kind of did a good job, at least for me, which made me like I said, when I realized as I'm writing my write up, I'm like, oh snaps, that did kind of happen. So I gotta give this filmmaker a little bit of props for pulling that out in the film. But overall, I think it's worth watching, and different people are going to get different stuff out of it. I think if you are a viewer that's really impatient, you're probably going to get less out of it than someone who is more patient. And I thought I was pretty patient because there were some people, other reviews I'm reading, and they were like, "Oh, like," I'm like, "Yo, it wasn't that bad. Come on, son."
I,
you know.
overall, with me, I probably wouldn't see this because this director made the movie First Cow,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I was highly annoyed by that film when that came out. Because
I haven't seen that, but I did see that on their resume. But this
yeah,
one,
it was like pre-COVID, or we kind of might have. I don't know if Bob had reviewed it back
mhm,
then or not, but I came back around and watched that film, and I just thought it was horrible. Or I might have talked about it years ago, and it
mhm,
was,
mhm.
I just thought it was like overrated, like
I did see people talking about it. I never watched it, but I think this was pretty solid. Just that it's flawed. Like I said, I liked it, but it's also has some flaws that I could see where, people's criticisms are valid. But it does have some pretty dark humor too, man. Because there's times where you're just looking at him trying to do stuff, and when you see, I'm like, oh man, this ain't gonna go good, dude. And that I don't listen to chuckle, or you see some of the reactions from some of the other characters. And it is kind of interesting too that it is kind of a 70s style film. So there's a little bit of a period piece into it. But I don't know. It's out there, man. So, I would never tell anyone to stay away from something. Check it out and see it for yourself and let me know what you think about it in the comments. But yeah, so that was the what was the name of that again? I'll just close it. Yeah, the Mastermind, and I think that's kind of a play on things because like in a perfect world, this guy is great, but and calling him the mastermind is even kind of making fun of him because everything he plans just runs into the worst luck ever, man, and just a victim of timing and stuff like that. It's terrible.
the only thing, I kind of want to ask you is, do you think that you were expecting Black Phone 2 to be like the mystery movie of this week before you went to the theater?
No, I didn't. No,
Okay.
I didn't. I
I
didn't
just,
think
I
that.
just,
I
I just,
actually saw. Usually, the people because I go to the Reddit subgroup, and they've been pretty damn accurate at guessing what was what. Like I knew this was going to be Master, or I had a. I haven't. They haven't been wrong yet, dude. Since I've been going there and looking to see what was coming out, and they said it was going to be the Mastermind, and I looked up some information about it, and I was like, all right, let's go see what this is going to do.
okay.
So yeah, so that didn't I wasn't expecting anything else when I saw this one. So